Alright, today we're going to start Chapter 12, the Great Depression and World War II. Alright, North Carolina roars through the 20s. I already talked about the 1920s or the early 20th century. Okay, century we already know is a time period of 100 years. Alright, so we are in the 20th century. Alright, words to know. You got 4 words to know: assembly line, evolution, moonshine, and bootleggers. Alright, this section we're going to be talking about the essential question. Alright, we're always going to have a essential question. Alright, when we do our notes, we're going to know we always do them in Cornell T style. How did the movement of people after World War I affect North Carolina's development? So how are we developing through this time period after World War I? Alright, introduction. Okay, lifestyle in North Carolina. We're fast-paced for the rich and poor. Alright, life is going quickly. We have been progressing. Alright, so a lot of things are going to be happening. A lot of things are going to be changing. Alright, auto dealer Osmond Barrier opened the first Charlotte Motor Speedway in Pineville in the 1920s. Alright, World War I creates jobs and money for people to buy cars in the 1920s. So jobs and money helped make cars more affordable. Okay, Ford produces the Model T. This is the name of your first car. Okay, this is a picture of it on the right. Here's a Model T. Alright, it was produced on the assembly line. Made cars affordable even in the South. So cars have always been somewhat affordable in the North, so now in the South they are affordable. So what is the assembly line? Well, assembly line, think of a conveyor belt. Alright, so for instance, we'll have one person here. There's the person with the dot. The dot's the person. So a person working on the car, after they get finished, they move their part down the conveyor belt where another person is doing something different. Okay, and it goes on and on. Not the same person will be doing the same job. Each person does something differently. Okay, so it's just a process of moving from step by step by step by step. So one person focuses on one job rather than a person focusing on the entire job. Okay, cars and moonshine. Alright, we just said Ford built a Model T factory in Charlotte. Okay, this is the area where the Model T factory was built, Charlotte. Okay, we already know Charlotte's a big town in North Carolina. Produced around 300 cars a day, which is a high percentage of cars a day. Alright, it's a lot easier on the assembly line than just one car. Alright, trolleys began to give way to buses. 1/4 of your city residents owned a car. Alright, 1/4. What's 1/4 as a percent? Well, that's 25%. Okay, 25% people own cars. Okay, well, what do they use these cars for? Well, a lot of different things. Alright, get to and from work. Also, autos delivered illegal alcohol called moonshine. Illegal alcohol called moonshine. They called this rum running. The term for this illegal alcohol delivery was rum running. Alright. Also, a word you definitely need to know: bootleggers. Bootleggers was a term for those who produced and sold moonshine, which caused many problems in North Carolina and in the South. Alright. Good roads state. Okay, leaders of North Carolina built road networks to connect the Piedmont industrial towns with raw materials on the coastal plains. Right? So they're finally getting good roads in North Carolina. Okay? These Model Ts are a good source for the roads. Okay? No longer are we going to have many horse and buggy. Okay? We're moving from that to a car production. Alright? Okay, So, North Carolina is on the move. We are moving to a more industrialized economy. Okay? More than 1,000 people moved to North Carolina after World War I. 100,000 people, sorry. 100,000 people is a lot of people. So 100,000 people moved to North Carolina after World War I. Winston-Salem's tobacco industry made it the state's largest city. So it went from Charlotte to Wilmington in the early 1900s to Winston-Salem. So now Winston-Salem is your largest city because of so much tobacco coming in and out of the state. All right? Your top branded products emerged from North Carolina: sheets, towels, aluminum, denim, and more. So there's a lot of top products coming from North Carolina that were top around the nation. Okay? But with all this progress, we still have some struggles. Right. Farm prices dropped steadily in the 1920s due to pests and competition from other states. Well, what is pests? Well, that is like bugs, different kinds of animals that will deteriorate or hurt your crops. Okay, competition from the states. Other states are also producing tobacco, cotton, our main products. Okay, rural areas still had many unpaved roads. Right, it's hard to drive on an unpaved road, like I just talked about. Most families did not support the teaching of evolution in high school. Okay, some of them teach religion. A lot of them did not support the teaching of evolution through science in the high school. Okay, many farmers lacked electricity. Right, this could be a huge problem. They lacked. That means they did not have electricity. Okay, in the South. Right, you're still having some low wages in the mill towns. And we know these mills. We have the child labor laws, if you remember. Children under the age of 12 couldn't work in the mills. So they're still paying the people that do work in the mills low wages. Okay, so they're not making much money in these mill towns. Okay, so what you're going to have is what we're going to call the Luray Mill Strike. The Luray Mill Strike. In 1929, mill workers at Luray Mill in Gastonia, North Carolina, walked off the job asking for better pay and conditions. So during work, they just got their stuff, and all of them took off. So when they went on strike, they just got out and left. Okay? Strikers were evicted from their homes. Workers camped outside the factory. So they were fed up with not getting good money. So workers camped outside. Violence resulted in deaths to sheriff and key strike organizers. So a lot of problems are going on. This created distrust of labor unions in North Carolina and most of the South. All right, so there's huge problems. You didn't pay them good money, so they took off. All right, so here's your summary slide. How did the movement of people after World War I affect the development of North Carolina? Okay, there was more fast-paced lifestyle, more money for people to buy cars. Right? The Ford Model T and the assembly line made it affordable to buy cars. This was your first car, and the assembly line is how they used to build the car. Cars used for rum running. This was your illegal outlaw of moving moonshine. Okay, there was a population growth in North Carolina. 100,000 people came to North Carolina. Okay, the industrial growth, textiles and metals. Right, the rural areas are still struggling. A lot of the people in the country. Your mills, your low wages and poor conditions, and your Luray mill strike to gain better wages